Hey, come on in. This is Love After Life, where we talk about the quiet parts, the healing parts, and the parts of life that don't always get seen, but still matters. Let's take a moment together. There comes a time in many of our lives when disappointment teaches us to lower our expectations. Not because we've stopped believing in God, not because we've stopped praying, but because we've been hurt. We've watched doors close. We've watched relationships end. We've buried dreams we once thought were certain. And after enough loss, enough heartbreak, enough waiting, we quietly make a decision. We stop expecting anything new. For some, it happens after a divorce. For others, after the loss of a spouse. For some, it's years of loneliness, years of wondering if companionship, joy, or even purpose still has a place in their future. The dangerous thing is that most people don't announce when they've given up. They simply stop looking forward. They stop making room. They stop believing that anything significant could still happen. A man in his later years found himself living exactly that way. His life was stable, predictable, comfortable. He had survived difficult seasons and carried more memories than plans. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. But he had quietly convinced himself that the best parts of his story were already behind him. When people spoke about the future, he listened politely. When they talked about possibilities, he smiled. But you see, inside, he had already decided that those conversations belonged to younger people, not him. One afternoon, while sitting alone, he found himself reflecting on the years that had passed, the opportunities he missed, the chances he never took, the relationships that never became what he hoped, the dreams that slowly faded with time. As he sat there, a simple thought crossed his mind. What if God wasn't finished yet? At first, he dismissed it. After all, what could possibly be next? But the question kept returning. What if God wasn't finished yet? Not long afterward, he noticed something. He had been praying for God to move while keeping every door in his life locked. He wanted blessings, but he expected nothing. He wanted direction, but he assumed there was nowhere left to go. He wanted purpose, but he had already decided his most meaningful days were over. And that's when he realized something important. Faith and expectation are not the same thing, but they often travel together. Faith says God is able. Expectation leaves room for him to do it. Some of us have faith. We still believe God can heal. We believe God can restore, God can provide, God can surprise us. But we've stopped expecting him to do any of those things in our own lives. We've become spectators of other people's blessings, watching, cheering, encouraging, while secretly believing our own opportunities have passed. But God has never been limited by our age, our past, our mistakes, or our timeline. Scripture is filled with people who thought their story was winding down when God was actually preparing a new chapter. What if the future you've imagined is too small? What if God still has friendships waiting, purpose waiting, healing waiting, joy waiting? What if there are conversations you haven't had yet that could change your life? People you haven't met yet, lessons you haven't learned yet, blessings you haven't received yet. The truth is, none of us know exactly what comes next, and maybe that's the point. If we knew every detail, faith wouldn't be necessary. The man began making a simple change. He stopped focusing on what was lost and started becoming available to what might still be possible. He didn't chase anything. He didn't force anything. He simply stopped closing doors that God might want him to walk through. And little by little, his perspective changed. He smiled more. He engaged more. He noticed opportunities he would have ignored before. Most importantly, he stopped viewing his future through the lens of his disappointments. Because yesterday may explain where you are, but it doesn't get to decide where you're going. Maybe that's the lesson for all of us. Keeping the door open doesn't mean living in fantasy. It doesn't mean refusing reality. It means refusing to let disappointment have the final word. It means trusting that God sees possibilities we cannot see. It means believing that even after loss, life can still surprise us. And perhaps the greatest act of faith is not demanding to know what God has next. Perhaps it is simply remaining open enough to receive it, because the same God who carried you through every chapter behind you is already standing in every chapter ahead. So keep praying, keep believing, keep growing, and keep the door open for what God has next. You may discover that your best chapter hasn't been written yet. Remember, no matter what you've been through, there's still purpose in your life, and there's still more ahead. This is Love After Life, and I'll see you next time.